All right, this is what I'm going to build now. I want to add a new page to our app with a button in the middle of the screen. In iOS, buttons don't have a border. They look like labels. So when we click this button, we get an alert. So let's go ahead and implement this. All right, as I explained in the last lecture, I'm going to use Xamarin Studio in this course to doing my development. If you want to use Visual Studio, that's perfectly fine. All the code I'm going to write is exactly the same. So as I told you earlier, in Xamarin Forms, we use XAML, which is an XML-based language, to define the visual appearance of our app. And we use code behind to implement how the user interface behaves. So I'm going to right-click our portable class library and add a new file. On the left side, select Forms, and on the right side, select Forms, Content Page, XAML. And now we give this a name, Greet Page. If you're using Visual Studio, again, right-click the portable class library, add a new item. In the list of templates, select Cross-Platform, and here select Forms XAML Page, and call it Greet Page. So this will add two new files to our project. One is greetpage.xaml, and if you expand it, here's the code behind, which is just a simple C# class. And we have the same scenario in Xamarin Studio. So here's our code behind, and here's our XAML file. As you can see, XAML is based on XML. The root element here, content page, represents the type of our page. In Xamarin Forms, we have a few page types. We have content page, master detail page, navigation page, carousel page, and so on. We use content page to present some content to the user, whether that being text, images, or the combination of the two. Now let me break up this line so you can see more clearly. In our content page element, we have a couple of XML namespace declarations. The first one is owned by Xamarin, and this namespace is for elements that have no prefix, like this content page element. So this element belongs to Xamarin Forms. We have another namespace declaration which identifies a prefix. So this :x syntax is used to declare a prefix. And if you look at the URI assigned to this XML namespace, you can see that this namespace is owned by Microsoft, which represents the standard XAML that Microsoft introduced in year 2009. Now, what is this :x here? That means any elements or any attributes that is prefixed with an X belongs to this namespace. Look at this attribute, the class attribute. It's prefixed with an X, and we call it X class. So this attribute belongs to the Microsoft namespace. Now look at the value assigned to this attribute. It's hello world.greetPage, which is the fully qualified name of our code behind class. So if we switch to the other tab, look, the name of our class is greetPage, and it's placed in hello world namespace. So using X class attribute, we establish a link between the XAML file and the code behind file. Now remove the content of this content page element. And instead, let's add a button. So, button. I want to put this button in the middle of the screen. So we set horizontal options to center and vertical options to center. Next, we set the text attribute. Click me. So this way with XAML, we're defining the visual appearance of our page. Now, what about the behavior? When we click this button, I want to display an alert. In Xamarin Forms, buttons have an event called clicked. So we set clicked to a string, and this identifies the name of the method in the code behind that should be called when this event is raised. You can see Xamarin Studio or Visual Studio is suggesting a name for this method, handle_clicked. So we press enter. That brings us to the code behind, press enter again, and that generates our event handler. So this event handler, as you see, it's a private method because it doesn't have an access modifier like public. It has two arguments. One is an object, which is the sender or source of the event, and the second one is event args, which brings additional details about an event. If this method looks strange or unfamiliar to you, I highly recommend you to watch my C# Advanced course, because there I have a complete lecture on events and handlers. Now, I want to change the implementation of this method. To display an alert, we call display alert method. We inherit this method from content page class, which is the base class for our greet page. So the arguments we supply here is the title of the dialog box, the message we want to display, like hello world, and a label for the cancel button. Let's just call this OK. Potentially, we could supply another argument if you want to have two buttons, like OK and cancel, or yes and no. But for this video, we don't have to worry about it. Now, in terms of clean coding, we should keep the constructor of our classes on the top. So I want to move this method down. Okay, we're done with this new page. Now we want to make sure that this page is displayed when our app is started. So back to our solution view. In the portable class library, you see we have a file called app.xaml. Let's expand this. Here's our code behind. You can see here main page property is set to a new instance of hello world page. Main page is a property that is defined in the base application class, and we use that to set the starting page of our application. So I'm going to change this to new greet page. Now let's run this. In Xamarin Studio, I'm going to press Command, Alt, and Enter. In Visual Studio, you press Control and F5. But before doing so, make sure in the Solution Explorer, set one of these platform-specific projects as the starter project. I'm going to use iOS. You can use whatever you want. So let's run the application. Okay, here's our button. So now you have an idea of what it's like to build cross-platform apps using Xamarin Forms.